Welcome to Behind Them Sticks. This is your boy Ham Solo. I got an awesome guest with me today from the Ironlordspodcast. We got Lord Addict with us today. How you doing today, my man?
Doing pretty good, man. I appreciate the invite, man. I appreciate the invite. Figured I'd, come in here and, kick it with you for a little bit.
Yeah, man. Much appreciated. I'm definitely excited to have you. We've had some really cool people in the past as well. Pretty much every episode has been really fun, but this one seems a little special because my man Lord Addict actually helped me kind of understand a few things before I started actually getting into Behind Them Sticks, and they said, we said, and whatnot. I actually asked him for a little bit of assistance in the camera and microphone and stuff like that category, and he actually reached back out and gave me some insight on it. So, as I said in previous episodes, if you're curious or need to talk to somebody, don't hurt. It doesn't hurt to reach out to somebody that you like, just to get their opinion on some stuff. It doesn't hurt to ask, but it may hurt not to ask. So definitely be willing to ask people.
Yeah, I think, I can't lie. There is a lot of gatekeeping that goes on in content creation in general, but just because one brush isn't for everything. Like, there's certain people that you feel like might be the biggest gatekeeper in the world, but they be opening that door like there's nothing. But if you don't reach out, you'll never know. So
absolutely. Well, I thank you again for you and King David as well. You guys really boosted the confidence a little bit when I was unsure whether I had enough stuff. You guys were just like, get started, do something. If you're gonna do it, do something.
yeah, it's always tell people, like, because I think you hit me up about artwork, about it. It's like, look, we brought this up in a couple episodes ago on IOP with Danny. It's we still disagree a little bit on that because they still have that mindset, like, just jump in and do something, and that's fine, definitely do it. But if you're investing and you do have the money to invest, like, I would recommend getting a decent mic off the rack, because the thing is like, sure, when, in my opinion, when back in 2012, 11, 10, even the late 2000s, the standards was different than it is now. So it's a lot of people do like that quality. You don't need that quality to get people, but it helps when people pop in a stream or a podcast or a video and they can barely hear you, or there's like an echoing going on. Like, they're gonna click off the video immediately because there's 100 other channels that have decent audio.
Right.
So that's why I always say, it's like, look, like, because that's why I told you, don't really invest in the artwork until you figure out a rhythm, what you want to do. You're not necessarily going to have the same type of content 6 months from now. You might change up stuff entirely because you find out, maybe this isn't the direction I wanted to make the YouTube channel.
Right. Yeah. I was the one that hit you up about artwork because I was wondering, hey, should I have these animations done and stuff like that? And you're like, I wouldn't worry about that first. Maybe get into it, get some good content that you want to do, and have your hardware correct, so when you come in, you're not like sounding like a fool. You're at least looking and sounding decent. Who knows what you're talking about, but at least you're doing that.
I started out with a Riggs headset.
That's the headset I'm wearing. Riggs.
Yeah, and then
800.
Then we went to a snowball mic, and then went from a snowball mic to a Blue Yeti, and then went from a Yeti to whatever the hell this is called, a Shure mic, I think.
Yeah, SHURE. Nice. Yeah, man. So you're just constantly just.
Well, it's about a ladder. Once you climb a little bit of the ladder, step off the ladder, upgrade your equipment, reinvest what you bring into the ecosystem, and then keep going from there. You only can go is up. But if you keep gatekeeping yourself, then you ain't gonna go up. So,
for real stuff, my man. All right, well, I'm going to ask you this question because I ask everybody this question at the very beginning of every episode. Could you please tell everybody what gaming and social media platform are you on, so people can find you, get a hold of you, or just keep up on your content?
So I have a Twitter, Lord Addict ILP. I have a YouTube channel, Gaming Addict. I'm like kind of putting like my toes in the streaming thing a little bit, just a little bit. You know, I'm still unsure how I feel about it. I do feel like because of the experience that I've made throughout the years as a podcaster, as a content creator, I've been able to, you know, adapt a little bit quicker into the streaming thing that I would probably have done 5 years ago. So, you know, I'm doing that. I'm kind of streaming on just the IOP Twitch right now. I'm in a podcast, obviously, the Ironlordspodcast. That's the YouTube channel, Ironlordspodcast. We do the podcast every Sunday at 1 p.m. and 11 a.m. Unfortunately, during the football season. So, you know, hopefully in the next couple months, people will start losing, so we can we can go back to the time I like.
There you go. All right, my man, that's dope. And you listed off the consoles as well?
I'm on Xbox, which is like Lord Addict with some numbers. I don't know, like they have like this weird Discord system right now that shows numbers if you try to change your gamer. Yeah, I feel like they should show the numbers only if you go to their profile. If you're in a party, it should just have the name. Or if you're in a game, it should just have the name. I'm on PlayStation as Room to Kill, and I'm on Steam as Gaming Addict.
Gotcha. So you're across several platforms, not just...
I'm on the Switch, but I don't know that social security number.
So, yeah, I actually had somebody talk about that one of my last episodes, and I was just like, no one's really, like, vibing on the Switch with other people that often anyway. So, I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of people that use it, but... Yeah, most people will get at you if they want to be on Switch online.
The only thing I really play like online for the Switch is like I'm a huge like turn-based person, so like I like the Pokemon competitive scene.
Okay.
But I'm not the greatest at it, so I definitely Google some competitive teams. I don't be making that stuff on my own, man. I look at the cheat sheets, but you know, got to start somewhere, man.
Yeah, gotta do what you gotta do, my man. All right, so what are you playing right now?
I can't talk about one of the things I'm playing.
Okay.
But I have been playing a little bit of Phoenix Point. I've been playing that a little bit. Actually was playing Mario Party whatever the new one is called. It's like Superstars or I don't know what it's called. I actually have the case around here somewhere. But yeah, I've been playing some of that. I've actually really enjoyed my time with that. I've been playing a little bit of Bravery Default 2 occasionally.
Okay.
So I definitely need to get back on that because I really enjoy that game.
All right. Sounds good. Are you big into multiplayer, or are you more of a single player kind of guy?
A little bit of both. I feel like competitive multiplayers kind of died down a little bit with me throughout the years.
Fair.
I still have a competitive nature, but now I've got to the point where I'm like, if I lose, I don't care. You know, I'm more of a co-op person these days. Like I like playing like raids in Destiny. I like really challenging co-op experiences in gaming.
I feel that. Yeah. Have you played, for instance, like Remnant?
Isn't that the Dark Souls like game with guns or something like that?
Yeah, but
I haven't got into that yet.
It is multiplayer as well, so you can do like 2 and 3 players, I believe. But that game is difficult. But it's really fun. It's really fun for sure. Especially if you're into that kind of like don't die or else you gotta restart pretty rough. But go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm a huge raid person, man. I like raids and everything, and you know I was very disappointed with Marvel because they didn't put a raid in that game. So, you know, I feel like people try to copy the Destiny formula, but they only copy the grind stuff. They don't copy the good stuff.
Got it. I seen you and Kid Smooth a little while ago before Far Cry came out. You guys were playing that. That was pretty cool to check out.
Oh, yeah, his video of us playing that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys got shot down really fast.
Yeah. That game... They do a good job with co-op, but I do think they can improve that area.
One of my biggest gripes was, like, I don't care if it's every mission, but, like, I wish they would have, like, some of the missions count to where, you know, the secondary player that's in there, because it sucks being the secondary player getting in there You do a ton of missions, ton of side missions or whatever with somebody else. You go back to your game and you gotta do it all over again.
Yeah, so that's why I told Smooth. I was like, look, I'm not gonna get experience for all this side stuff. So what we'll do is we'll unlock the whole map. We'll go to like every outpost. We'll destroy like all the anti-air gun stuff.
Right.
I was like, in that way, you know, then you come over and help me do it, because we was reviewing the game. So it's like that way, you know, when we do the story, since we've done all the other stuff, we could just fast travel and you know, play the story a lot faster than you normally would be able to play.
Just airdrop everywhere.
Yeah, because instead of having to drive all the way to the side of the map, I'm just airdrop from the place right beside it. So.
Yep. That's how I did. I'd airdrop, go take out the anti-air, airdrop, take out the anti-air, just everywhere.
I wasn't even airdropping. I was using a helicopter and just staying close to the ground.
There you go. That's not a bad idea, because yeah, you get up there high and they'll just start shooting you, even if you're wingsuiting. But anyways, let's move on. Why is gaming so darn important to you? Why have you invested so much time, and you know you're doing all this stuff on the side for the Iron Lords and everything like that? Like what got you into that? Why is it so important?
I think the reason it's important is because I was raised by a single mother, so you know, gaming was like the one thing I always had.
Feel that.
I remember like, because I didn't live in the greatest area in Arizona, because I'm from Tucson, Arizona, so mom wouldn't let me go out much at all. So I was always there with my uncle that would come over and watch me when she was at work. And like the only thing I really had access to was like the N64 or you know, sometimes I'd play my cousin Timmy's stuff before I got my own console. And like those memories carried over through the year. And it's just like, you know, I grew up with Zelda, I grew up with Pokemon, I grew up with Final Fantasy, and then, you know, those genres branched out to other games in the genre. And then before you know it, it's 2021. I've been doing this YouTube thing for a minute, man. And you know, sometimes I do feel a little bit OD'd on it, but then like that fresh hot game comes out and I'm like, okay, never mind. Like,
right. No, go ahead. You had something else to say.
that was all.
Oh, okay, cool. No, I completely get that. Yeah, I definitely want to say like, I like growing up playing games is like a really nice escape to have, and a really good way to kind of get to know yourself in a lot of different ways. Get to know your own patience and just kind of doing things in your own way. So I really like that answer with that being, oh yeah, I mean, I grew up kind of playing it, and then kind of after the years, you kind of get so used to playing so many different types of games, but once a fresh game drops, you're just like, all right, I don't even know what to think right now. I'm just gonna hop in there and just see what it's all about.
Not to mention when it's like a game that you grew up with, like a new entry in the franchise comes out, and it's crazy to think that like the gaming industry is the only thing that you could think of that besides, like, you don't really get it with the movie industry too much, where I'm like 20 years of playing games and I could still play new entries of games I played 20 years ago. So right. Like, if you think about that, that's wild. Like 20 years, you can still play a new Mario. You can still play a new Zelda. You can still play a new Elder Scrolls. Like, well, I mean, it takes a minute to get Elder Scrolls, but it's just like, you don't really get that because a lot of the times movies, they'll just move on after a couple, like, especially like the famous, once we have the trilogy, we're moving on. And, you know, you don't get that. You know, I love Lord of the Rings, but once those Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit trilogy was over, that was it. Like, it was a wrap. Like,
absolutely.
That's all.
That was so abrupt. All right. Well, moving forward, what is like one of the most memorable times that you've had, like, whether it's your childhood or like, you know, doing your thing as where you're at right now? Like, what's a memorable time that really kind of got you?
I think I'm a huge fan of Zelda games, and I used to play the Zelda games with like my cousin, and we would like take turns with the temples. And I remember playing Twilight Princess, and I'll never forget it. And we were taking turns doing the temples, and I fell asleep. It was like midway through the game. It was in like the area with the icy area in Twilight Princess. I woke up, and I remember thinking, like, when we're doing this temple, I remember thinking, this seems like a very short temple. Then bam, no, it's big, it's huge. It's like they opened up a whole new area, and I remember falling asleep, and I woke up, and this dude almost beat the entire game, was on the final temple. I'm like, dude, that's not fun. That's not fair. Like, you can't just beat the whole game almost. He's like, look, you was asleep, and you're like, I'm just gonna wait around for you. I was like, that's not cool. Like, but I really enjoyed, experiences like that. Especially, like, I remember I got a little bit of experience of how to play like a competitive Pokemon, and I remember my friend, he was running his mouth. He's like, oh, I could beat you, and it doesn't matter how much of these online battles you've beaten. And then I was all right, let's play. And I destroyed this man. Like, it wasn't even a fight. And I'll never forget, like, looking over and seeing the disgust on his face. Like he was just like, because he didn't, like, in Pokemon, you're supposed to withdraw if you fight an encounter. He don't. Like, he feels like, he's like, no, keep that Pokemon out and fight me like a man. Nah, because that thing's going to destroy this thing. So I'm going to switch to something that will destroy that thing. Like,
play some chess with him, right?
Yeah, and that's all Pokemon really is chess. Like, can you take this hit without dying in one hit? If you switch, do they have like stealth rocks where you're going to lose half your health, or sometimes 25% of your health? Or can you just flush the whole team because they have a bad lineup to one of your Pokemon? Like,
I love that both of those memorable moments that you just talked about was receiving a having a salty experience, and then giving somebody else a salty experience.
It's about the balance of power, man. If I'm wronged one day, I got to dish it back out another day.
That's the first time that I had a story like that, where it was getting salty and then, paying it forward. So, all right. This next section is what I do in pretty much every episode. I have this little game where I say the name of a console, and you do your best to tell me the first game that pops into mind. Okay?
Okay.
Now, what I'm going to ask you first, which I've been trying to remember each episode, is to ask you, what's the first console that you've ever played, so I know how deep to reach in the bag?
You can get me all the way up to, like, probably the Super Nintendo is the limit. Like, I played a lot of the NES, but the Super Nintendo is like the earliest I can like really remember playing games to like a full.
Okay. All right. So then the first one I'm gonna start out with is Sega Genesis.
Sonic, obviously. Like that. I didn't really play a whole lot of Sega, but what I did play, it was mostly Sonic. So.
Okay. Gotcha. N64.
I would have to say Pokemon Stadium.
Nice.
Played a lot of that.
You ever get into Snap? I don't know why, but
I like Snap. I like Snap. I considered buying this new one, but then I like looked at the reviews and I was just like, it didn't seem like they were really trying.
It looked rough.
They were trying the exact template from the 90s, and like let's not do anything new. Like,
it didn't even really look that up-resed or anything. It looked fairly like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking how pretty games I thought they were back then. I don't know. But it just didn't look that fantastic to me, personally. But anyways, moving forward, the next console I want to talk about, or not talk about, but for you to tell me the game for, is PlayStation, original.
Final Fantasy 7, 8, any of them really. I would probably like focus more on like Final Fantasy Tactics, because I played Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, and all of them on multiple different platforms. It's not PlayStation.
Okay.
But Tactics are only really played on like 2 platforms, because they don't re-release that at all. That's why when it was leaked on that NVIDIA list, that leak list, I was like, this better be right. This better be right. Like, because I would lose it if they brought that back.
Some tactics.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. All right. Original Xbox.
Fable.
Great choice. Let's see if you got an answer for Dreamcast.
Not really. I didn't really play a whole lot of Dream. Was that the one where they had like the thing that went in your controller that was the second screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I played like some sports games on there. Well, I was horrible at sports games, but my cousin was trying to get me into them, and he wouldn't let me play him unless I beat the computer, which I sucked at the game because I didn't know anything about sports. So I used to switch to the other team and make them intercept it, and then switch back to my team. And then I guess my mindset was like, I got to play him, so I got to beat this computer. And even if I lose, let me finesse it and make the computer just run out over and over again. Then switch back to my team when it's a turnover. And then I guess for some reason my little mind thought I could do that when I actually faced my cousin.
Yeah, no, there is no pause button when you're playing.
I lost.
Yeah, took that L. All right. So moving on, next question, or the next one is going to be PlayStation 3.
PlayStation 3. Actually, I would have to probably say Eternal Sonata. I played a lot of that game on the PlayStation 3, and I know that's probably like something that's in either that. I didn't really play The Last of Us till the PS4 came out. Okay. So, but I remember I played so much Eternal Sonata on the PS3. That was all I really played on that platform was Eternal Sonata.
Okay.
And Enchanted Arms. I played that on there too. Enchanted Arms.
360.
I'd have to say Halo 3. Cause I bought a 360 for Fable 2. And I loved Fable 2. But I don't have as many memories with Halo 3 that I don't have that many compared to Halo 3. I love Fable and I played a lot of Fable 2, and I would consider in terms of funness, I probably enjoyed Fable 2 more because of all the stupid stuff you can do, but I had more fun with my cousin's stuff playing Fable 3 online.
Okay. Fable, you mean Halo 3?
Halo 3.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, so Halo 3, I think that's just cemented for a lot of people, because most episodes I get either Halo 3 or Gears of War, and those two things are cemented for people that every time I bring up 360. So not surprised to hear that answer at all. One of the last ones I'm gonna go with is PS4. I know this one's it would either be God of War or Until Dawn. And the reason I think I'm more leaning towards Until Dawn is because it was a newer experience. Sure, God of War, the type of game was new because we ain't seen a God of War like that. But I enjoyed Until Dawn so much. I remember I'm a huge episodic game back before that genre kind of died. But I remember thinking if this was broken up into parts, I would enjoy just as much if it was together. And I remember thinking this is what I want from that type of game from now on. This game is the GOAT in terms of a narrative focused point and click game pretty much. And I will never I really Ghost of Tsushima, PlayStation 4 had a lot of good games. It did. And that's why Xbox is so harshly looked at, is because it couldn't follow that same direction. But they're looking really good now. I mean, they got a lot of games coming and stuff like that. So it's really exciting for both sides of the spectrum. I happen to land kind of right in the middle. I got both the new consoles, so I'm really excited just to see where gaming kind of goes. It looks amazing. February is going to be a sweaty ass month. Yeah, it is. It's going to be a super sweaty month. But another one of the last ones is going to be Series X. Curious, what do you think of Series X? Currently, it would probably have to be Destiny 2 because it just played so much better than its counterpart. Because there ain't really been
that experience on the Series X, and I don't really think there's been one on the PS5 either. So like, but I do know that I'm going to get those experiences. And like, you know, people say, you know, why did you pick up a platform for you know, no exclusive games like to that actual console? And it's like, picked up a platform because I can't wait for technology. It didn't really have anything to do with what was there day one.
Right.
But, you know, I'm going to use it eventually. Like, I had an Xbox One S pretty much all last generation. So it's like, there were times where it was dry, but there were times where I was playing games pretty much monthly. So like, but when it comes to Series X, I mean, maybe Forza Horizon 5, because I actually really enjoyed that game.
Yeah, how you doing? Like, what level and everything are you at?
I couldn't even tell you, man. I don't keep track of like the level stuff. Like, I was literally just like, I like the off-road racing in that. I don't know why, but yeah, I don't really like the crossroad stuff, and they have these long races that feel like it takes 25 minutes to do.
No,
wasn't a big fan of those.
It really does, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't a big fan of those, but I understand those aren't like your everyday races. Like, those are like the races you got to unlock. That's like the king of that genre in that race.
Right.
But like, I enjoyed them, but after I felt like I did one, it's just like, man, do I really got to drive around this whole map again? Like,
they have like 5 different ways of driving all over the map, and yeah, one of them was like 25 minutes long, not even kidding. 26 minutes, I think. And that, I think that was around the entire map or something like that. It was insane. But yeah, it's a really fun game, really pretty, so highly recommend it if somebody's watching this that hasn't played it yet. But the last one I'm going to ask you is going to be, let's just make it easy, PS5.
probably Demon Souls, and I can't even really say Demon Souls. Like, I didn't really. Ratchet and Clank was okay, like, but as far as like go out and buy a PlayStation 5 if you can find one, like, wouldn't recommend that. You know, I think Demon Souls is a very quality game, but I don't even know about that one either. Like, you know, to be honest with you, it's been kind of dry over there. Like, we'll be real with you, but like, I know when that God of War hits, I'm gonna play it. Like, you know,
easy, Addict, easy.
Oh man, I'm just being real, man. I'm being real. My PlayStation has been in my closet for 2 weeks. Like,
oh Lord. What's the last game you played on it then? You said Demon Souls?
I think I played Persona 5 Royale on it.
Okay.
I might have streamed something else besides that game. I don't remember. But I definitely played a lot of Royale.
All right. Moving on. What's the gaming genre out there? Because everybody has one. What's one that like you like either refuse to play or like have a hard time really enjoying?
All right, so I don't like racing genres unless it's like casual as hell. Like, I got made fun of a lot, like Need for Speed or maybe Forza Horizon, but I cannot stand fighting games, like at
like
all.
Boxing?
No, like boxing, anything, like Killer Instinct, Mortal Kombat, Tekken, like all, like, and pretty much every sports game. All those could disappear tomorrow, and I wouldn't blink an eye. I would kind of probably like have a celebration dance, like, because then I know I could watch an EA conference and not be bored 80% of the time. So
gotcha. So you're not into the king of fighting and all that stuff.
No, they can king that fighting straight out. Like,
all right. Well, that was really quick and a simple answer. I like it. Not really that big into that either because I just get wiped anytime I play anybody. But next, what's the best 3 games of this last year that you would pick? So essentially, I'm pretty much asking you to be, you know, Mr. Game Award right now. What's the best 3, and then what's the best of those 3?
I want to put Returnal there. I want to, but I can't. I can't because I don't like the structuring of the game. I feel like they could have done a lot better. I would have to say right now it would be like centered around maybe games that just God on the platform, like the Xbox, like maybe Hades that just came out this year. I know that came out like last year, something like that. Forza Horizon's a good game. I honestly think it should be nominated for Game of the Year.
Okay.
I couldn't really get on the Village that much, like at all.
I couldn't get into it.
Yeah, Far Cry 5 was good.
Yes.
You know, I people keep saying, "Oh, it's more like Far Cry," and like, don't buy Far Cry. Like if you like, I don't understand that concept. You're buying Far Cry to not play Far Cry. That makes no sense.
Right.
It's
the same way I play. It's the same way I feel about Call of Duty, and I swear somehow I always end up with a copy of that game, and I don't even ask for it. But but it's okay. But yeah, I mean, I don't buy Call of Duty because I don't want more Call of Duty. So if you don't want more Far Cry, then don't buy Far Cry. Seems simple, right?
Then it's looking like Battlefield's, you know, not getting the greatest reception as well. So it's really interesting how this year is turning out. Like, yes. You know, I really liked House of Ashes. That was pretty good. That was way better than that horrible game they did before that, Little Hope. So, you know, that was a pretty good. I kind of want to play that Stranger of Paradise. I don't know if that comes out this year or not. But to be honest with you, man, I'll be real. Like, this year is kind of lacking. Like, I think there was good games that came out this year, but there wasn't that game that came out. Oh, Mass Effect Legendary Edition. It was the first time I played those because I'm looking at my Xbox games right now.
Gotcha.
I'd actually honestly have to say between Mass Effect and that would probably be at Mass Effect. Like, I really and truly enjoyed Mass Effect, but I do feel like in terms of that game that comes out that you just feel like this is Game of the Year. Like, there's no way around it. This is Game of the Year. I'm not saying that there's been bad games this year. I think there's been a lot of good games, but there hasn't been that game, that Witcher 3, that Fallout, that game, that Last of Us 2, that you just like, the quality is oozing off that product. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I have to honestly say that it would have to be Mass Effect, because where I didn't play the other ones, I had a perspective and like a sense of not knowing anything going on. So that really helped me play that game. But I don't think this year's probably been one of the worst years in gaming in a while.
So you really obviously aren't a huge fan of the new Ratchet and Clank then?
I liked it. I just felt like it didn't really set the bar as far as anything. Like, I felt like for the most part, people just like, oh, it looks nice, but and it was a nice experience. You know, a couple nice bosses, but you know, as far as like the game at its core, it's a good game, but it's nothing special. It's like all the games this year to me is like comparing a bunch of diamonds, but you want that shiny one. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I get it. My only issue with Ratchet and Clank was that it seemed like both of the characters were to the T exactly the same. Like, there was no extra thing that Rivet could do that Ratchet couldn't do.
Literally the exact same character.
So it was
and you know what's
really
funny?
Boring.
Resident Evil 5, same character, moved differently, had unique weapons exclusively for that character. They even did melee damage differently. They were pretty much the same character, very small differences, but those differences made them unique to each other. Right. And Ratchet and Clank, it's literally just, oh, you're a chick this time, you're Ratchet this time. Like, that's literally the difference. Like, and I felt like the story was good, but I do feel like that particular part kind of ruined a lot of the experience for me because I feel like I'm feeling like this is so like both characters that they could have just had a cutscene and kept her out as a character. Could have been all Ratchet and just had hers be done in a cutscene, because what's the point in reskinning Ratchet to her, which that's all she was, a reskinned Ratchet, when she had no unique abilities that made her gameplay different than Ratchet's.
Yeah, because it was frustrating to me, because I'm sitting here looking at Dr. Nefarious, and his counterpart is completely different than, you know, who he is. Like, he's much more of a badass, and his
what's funny is
crazy. Yeah,
they went above and beyond to highlight the differences between them. But the main characters, they didn't do it. Like, I felt like that was just weird. Like, it's like they could have done so much better, man. Like, but when I brought it up, I got bitch at. Like, I got really jumped on. You know, people feel like I can't criticize PlayStation games. Like, you know, I brought up the God of War fighting the same troll over and over again. Got attacked for that too. But, you know, they call me a fanboy of one, but then the next week I say I want to see more gameplay in Starfield. Then I get attacked for that. So I'm pretty much screwed at whatever I do at these days on the internet.
Yeah, Wilmy was actually saying the same thing when I had him on podcast. And he is just like, you know, I say one thing about, you know, PlayStation, and the Xbox fans come. I say something about Xbox, and the PlayStation fans come, and it just kind of is what it is. And he has the whole neutering program that he talked about and everything like that. So it was pretty funny. But yeah, man, I feel like if they had an award for game with best photo mode, maybe it'd win that, to me. But
best photo mode.
Yeah, like best photo mode game. But as for like the game and like the actual meat and potatoes of it, it kind of felt repetitive after a little while, and I could understand why the story was short, because they don't want you to get too burned out of doing the same shit over and over and over and over. But anyways, yep, moving on. So this is a fun question, a little bit pretty positive one. What's your favorite studio, and what game best represents it?
I'd have to say Obsidian. Okay. I think Obsidian is a very talented studio.
You're about to say Grounded, aren't you?
No, I think I don't think I can really determine one game for Obsidian. Like, I think I would have to just say RPGs in general, because they've made any type of RPG you can almost think of. They made South Park Stick of Truth. They made Knights of the Old Republic 2. They made Fallout New Vegas. They made The Outer Worlds, Pillars of Eternity. Like, those gameplays are so different, but so same at the same time.
Right, yes.
It really shows it's like this studio can make any RPG you want, ever.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, all of those games that you named, I could see the similarity in each one of them, but like South Park, and you know, that game was wild and really fun. I enjoyed it. But also, what was another game that you just mentioned?
Knights of the Republic.
You said
Fallout, New Vegas.
New Vegas, yeah. So like just the difference in between those are massive, but I can see the Obsidian footprint that you're kind of talking about in each one of those. But that's your favorite one, huh?
Mm-hmm. And I think it's because that if I would have like a gun to my head, I would maybe lean more towards like Bethesda Software Studio, but I feel like until they prove that they can still make a competent game, I can't give that to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that they're hopeless. I do think they're going to make fantastic games going forward, but I've always been one of those things like, you got to show me that something wasn't a fluke and not a pattern. So it's like, you got to show me that Fallout 76, regardless if that wasn't them, the core studio, that was another studio, but they helped with it, that still has your name. So you're still going to get the blame regardless. So it's just like, you got to show me that was multiple variables that made that game launch the way it was. You got to show me that that's not a pattern. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I got to see what Starfield comes out in the condition that game is day one before I start to tell them that they're not a pattern anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm actually starting to find a new love in dialogue games quite a bit. I've had the hardest time with them in the past, with just kind of like, I'd want to, like, you'd get into a dialogue thing, and back several years ago, I just would want to spam like the X button or spam the A button and just get through it as quick as possible. But I've noticed as of lately, it's definitely starting to change a little bit. especially with having a kiddo here at home. Being able to hear a new story and just kind of taking my time through a game is something I'm much more happy about compared to when I wanted to go out at the end of the night and go get hammered and hang out at the bar and stuff like that. So it's definitely a lot different, and I'm going to have to look into some of those Obsidian games that you mentioned and try them out.
South Park Stick of Truth, man. Don't play that with your kiddo around. But
no, I already beat that game, actually, and that was
a great
fantastic,
game.
Dude. It was hilarious. I haven't played the Fractured Butthole.
I beat that.
Was that worth it?
It was like it wasn't necessarily turn-based. It was turn-based, but it was like grid space too. Like you have to move around and like kind of like a little bit like combining Final Fantasy with the game maybe with like XCOM, but it's not like Battlefield grid space. Like you'd get into a fight and you have like a 3x3 area or 9x4 area, and you would have to move around that certain diameter, and you could see their attacks and what areas it covers to avoid certain things. And I thought that was cool.
It reminds me of Psychonauts a little bit.
Yeah, but the thing that I have to like really give them is like Obsidian did something with Stick of Truth. Imagine like, Fractured Butthole kind of like took that foundation that Obsidian made with Stick of Truth and they expanded on it a lot. But if you look at Stick of Truth, they had no foundation to go. They made that game pretty much from scratch. And they did such a great job that people were willing to fund another one.
They tied it to the South Park show so well. Mm-hmm. But also kept the aspect of this is kind of still your choice in the video game, and it just kind of took off. That was one of those games where I like couldn't stop playing until I finished it because it's not super long.
It's not, but it's really good. And I like games that like turn-based games that really focus on hidden bosses and stuff, and they did a really good job on that. I like the choices where you could choose between certain people, and I liked where what was funny is like you either choose Cartman or Kyle, and then you would find out that they're not even really the main boss, and then everyone teams up, and then like literally the game ends, and then they just sit there and like, screw this, I'm done. And then he throws his stuff down. He's like, I'm done with this game, and he goes home. So like that like reminded you that they're playing a role playing in real life, and you're just imagining all of everything else. Like
it's bullshit inside of bullshit. Mm-hmm. But it's fantastic. All right, let's move on to the next one. What's the most exciting game for you coming out like next year?
Oh, next year.
Yeah.
If Avowed comes out next year, it would be that, but I don't think Avowed's coming out next year. I think that's probably a 2023 game. So it'd probably be Starfield, because I want to see if Bethesda back on they horse. Could probably Starfield.
Yeah, they said that 11/11 drop seemed extremely firm, but we'll see about that.
What's funny is when he said it in the game, when he said it in the interview, he was like, "Oh, I know stuff could change." Like Ryan kind of like hinted, like, "I'm gonna let you not write it in ink." You know what I'm saying? And then I love the way Todd Howard answered. He's like, "Well, I mean, the way we put it in the trailer like that, I'm pretty sure that means it's ink."
Right. Yeah, no BS on that one. I like that because it's like, hey, you announced it to everybody. That's about as ink as it can get. So yeah, for sure. I'm super excited for Starfield. I don't know what to expect from that. I'm kind of like you in a sense where I'm just like I'm excited for it, but like I need some sort of footage of like gameplay.
Yeah, part of me, I'm confident. Part of me is really confident because regardless how I felt about Fallout 4, it's still a great game. I just felt like it was more of a first-person shooter than a Fallout game. But it was still a fun game. It's like that's why I felt like Breath of the Wild is a great action adventure game, but a shitty Zelda game. So and that I'm sure people ain't gonna like that.
No, they're not.
But it is what it is, man. It is what it is.
Well, it's all right. I already I already said before that Phoenix Rising was better to me. I don't care what anybody says. Is what it is.
It had substance.
Yeah, man, it just had umph. I really like that everyone spoke English. That was really fun. Being able to follow the story a little bit better. The action was just like jam-packed. And it looked really good on console. So, it just is what it is for me. But if you were to revive 2 games from the past, and I'm going to make you not use Xbox One or PS4. You have to dig a little bit further back. If you were to revive 2 games from the past, what would those 2 games be?
So do you mean like what type of revive? Like a full restructure?
A full remake? Like it is old 1998 game, yuck, let's turn it into a 2021.
It would be Final Fantasy Tactics. Because I feel like even though that they're going to remake that game, I don't think it's going to come back the way I would want it to. Like I would want like nice animations, like full restructures, no sprites. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And then I would probably say reboot Banjo.
Banjo-Kazooie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Reboot it. Like, and if they don't want to spend the money to reboot it, remake the first one. It could be 1 for 1 if they want. Just make it today's standards.
What about that game do you really want?
I just really enjoyed the platforming and like the way that the game was designed, and it was just goofy. And I think we don't have enough of that anymore. Like, and I feel like, especially, if you're talking about like a branding thing, like that is such a good icon and such a popular icon with older fans that could easily be one of the top like mascots for Microsoft if they would invest money into it.
Yes, I 100% agree with you. You kind of need that kind of goofy mascot that's funny. I mean, I understand Raz is really cool and whatnot, but you can get a little bit goofier. And if you look at Xbox as a brand, they're pretty freaking goofy brand sometimes. Especially off of the stuff you read off of their Twitter. You've seen what happened to their Twitter account.
I have no clue how that happened. How do you just delete an it doesn't look like they deleted it either. Because if you look at it,
it still has old posts.
Yeah, so it's like they nuked the following. Like maybe something happened on the. I don't understand how that happened. Maybe it was a Twitter thing. Maybe it wasn't even Microsoft.
Yeah, I don't know, but my point is that it was goofy. And like they always have this weird way of just like keeping it goofy even in a weird moment. Kind of like, wow, I lost all my power. Oh, we unplugged it and replugged it back in. Like just kind of goofy shit is
I mean, they just recently pretty much teased some kind of Fable 1 remake. And then 6 hours later, never happened. My bad. We're going to delete the tweet. Never happened.
Yeah, it's like they went to delete a tweet or something and deleted the whole damn thing. I don't know. I feel like
they probably fired the social media guy that screwed up the Fable thing. So before they took his access to it, he deleted it. Like
that was his last hurrah at Microsoft. Got it. Yeah. So. I really, because I mean, one thing that I really like about Xbox is that they seem like they're excited for success. They're always excited for success. You can feel it constantly, like with Aaron Greenberg and Phil Spencer and, God, what's her name? The game's leader, director person, Sarah Bond, yeah. Yeah, it's just every time they announce something, you can just see them kind of like grinning from ear to ear. They're excited for what they're announcing, and you kind of don't get that from PlayStation exactly so much. You get more of a serious tone from them, and I don't know. It's just different, and it's nice to have something different. It doesn't have to be the same at all. But here's a kind of a little bit of a negative question. What frustrates you about gaming, if anything at all?
How everything has to look really eye candy. No one cares about gameplay anymore. That's by far the most frustrating thing. I love this game called Star Renegades. Came on Game Pass. It's like a turn-based game, completely different aspect on turn-based that I've never seen. I really enjoyed it, and very few people was willing to try it because it looked old. And I'm just like, I get it. I get that type of Moonlighter, same thing, like kind of like a bit type of game. Mm-hmm. One of the funnest games I've ever played. And I'm just like, we've gotten to the point where people are expecting something Halo's not, just because they expect games to always look better than their predecessors. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, why do we expect Halo to look next gen when Halo's a cross gen? And it's just like, and the reason that is because of graphics. People expect it to look prettier, to the mirrors to reflect more, to ray trace to reflect more. How is it that we've improved more in that aspect, but engines like the Nemesis engine has been very far in between, that actually aren't there to make graphics look good. They're there to make gameplay better. But we don't get that because people are too obsessed with how a game looks and not how a game plays. And publishers have picked up on that. That's why they show you their best foot forward in terms of what a game looks like. Mm.
That's a really compelling thing to say. I actually hear what you're saying, and I understand it, but at the same time, I understand where other people are coming from too, because they spend all this money on a certain console or whatnot, and then they have these expectations of, I want Red Dead Redemption 2 with all the with 4K 60, everything to look a little bit better than the last one. Or here's a really good example, Grand Theft Auto, the trilogy that just came out. A lot of gripes about the way that game looks. Where do you kind of stand on that, or are you even a GTA fan at all?
I like the GTAs, but I saw that and I didn't want nothing to do with that. It's cool. I honestly feel like what's the word I'm looking for? I gotta watch how I word this. I feel like Cyberpunk was worse. Like what's the word I'm looking for? Cyberpunk and how they handled stuff was worse, but I feel like that was one of those things where they were put in red tape and they couldn't delay it no more. Investors didn't want to hear anything like that. And I don't think Cyberpunk, I don't think CD Projekt Red wanted to put that game out like that. They were kind of forced to. You know what I'm saying? I think if money wasn't an issue, they would have easily delayed the game to make sure it came out the way it was supposed to. But Rockstar, and I see like what they did with GTA, in my opinion, is worse than that, because they put them together to make you buy them all together, and they charge you $60 for old games that don't even look drastically different from the older games, and then when you play them, in some incidences, it's worse.
Yeah. Like, for instance, looking at the skyline, power lines and trees are just flickering like crazy.
And then if you look at it on like licensing and stuff that they had to take out of the game for multiple reasons, for one or the other, like they kind of sold you less of the original game for which is crazy to me. Like, these games should have been $20, but they equal out to $20 at the end of the day. But I don't think you could buy them separately, can you? And what's crazy, but you can download them separately, because we just got San Andreas on Game Pass.
Right.
So you could clearly, these games are separate and like internally with the files, right, but they don't want to sell them separately. So that makes it worse. They have the means to sell you these products at a different, because they have their own store. Because clearly when you download San Andreas, you're not downloading 3 or Vice City. You're downloading only San Andreas. So internally and in the store, they're different, but they don't want to sell them to you different. And I feel like that is way worse
kind of scummy
than what, because at the end of the day, it's like I said, like, I honestly think CD Projekt Red didn't want to do what they did. They didn't think it was going to be a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Oh, we'll get a little bit of a hit, but it will be fine. Didn't happen. But like, I feel like when I look at Rocksteady and Rockstar, they're like, we're gonna put them out because we know people are gonna buy them.
Yeah, and it's super unfortunate because all I want to do is play Vice City, but I can't unless I purchase a game and I look at the price tag and I'm like, ain't no way I'm paying $60 for this.
Besides San Andreas, and I think San Andreas is really good. I think it's probably the better GTA experience from all of them, even 5. Right. But a lot of people love Vice City, and notice that's the only one that's not in a subscription service.
Right.
Because 3's gonna go into PlayStation Plus. San Andreas went into Game Pass, so they want people to, oh man, I remember this, I remember that. And they're like, I want to play Vice City. Oh, give me 60. Like, so if you have a PlayStation and an Xbox, think about this. If you have a PlayStation and an Xbox, you could play San Andreas now, and then you could play the Plus version of Grand Theft Auto 3. And if you want to play Vice City, you got to buy all 3 of them.
Right. And I'm not a fan of that, but it is what it is. I'm just going to wait for it to go on sale. I'm just going to wait for it to go on a super heavy sale, and then I'll pick it up then. But ain't no way I'm paying $60 for parts of the game being worse.
Oh, yeah.
Like legit. Like, I was driving in the mountains because they were telling me to because of the GPS. And there's no bridge on like 2 or 3 different areas of the map. Like, I'm just driving and I could see the road on the map, but there was no road that I could see in front of my car. So, like, just little things like that. I'm just like, man, did you guys really have to rush out and put this out? You guys could have waited a couple more months and just did a little bit more, you know.
It would be different if this is like a company. Let's say that this isn't GTA. Let's say it's the Darksiders franchise and they're remaking the Darksiders. I can understand a move from this, from like, from Nordic, THQ Nordic, because sure, they got a lot of money, but they don't got 2K money. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
2K has the money that they can literally fund an entire remake of all 3 of these games. But instead of doing anything drastically different to improve the games, they make it worse and put it to you at a $60 price tag that you can't separate. Because I think individually they're worth $20. But they know they'd rather bundle them and make you pay for all of them than let you buy them individually.
Absolutely. It's a rip, but it is what it is. And that's, I don't want to say that's Rockstar, because that's just, I more or less want to say it's just like their way of just kind of like, oh, you want this? You guys keep bothering me about it. Here, just take it. Go away.
Yeah, I get it. And let's be real. It's them just taking advantage of our hobbies. So, right. You know, our passion. They're like, oh, you want this? Where's that money? Like,
yeah, they're thugging for it a little bit. But let's move on. I only have a few more questions left for you. One of them is a really fun one. This is kind of a turnaround from the last one. What's a dream of yours in gaming?
I'd actually like to be like a tester in the industry, or maybe like a community manager somewhere. I know I'm like really extra with everything I say, so maybe the community manager thing's not a possible accomplishment, because I'm sure a lot of companies look at me and they like, this dude cannot be in charge of our social media. But I love playing games that I wouldn't mind testing them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think my all-time goal would be to have as much access to the industry as possible, so I can review games thoroughly and effective. Because a lot of people don't realize that you can get decent numbers by releasing a game a couple days after it comes out, which means you're no-lifing that thing. But in order to really stay competitive in the reviewing scene, you got to get those review codes.
Right.
And it's hard to get the viewership to get those review codes when you're not getting the backing of the industry to get the viewership so you can get more review codes.
Double-edged sword.
That's why I've been putting a lot of respect on Microsoft here lately, because how many people got access to Forza Horizon 5? It was a lot. Mm-hmm. It's just like, you know, they don't Microsoft doesn't realize giving these influencers, these content creators that's been doing this for years, it might not seem a lot to them. Oh, we're going to give you access to a $100 game 2 weeks early. You know what I'm saying? That you're probably not going to pay for in Game Pass anyway. But to them, that means all of our hard work has been rewarded. Like, Microsoft is seeing us as a point of access that respect our work to give us access to that game. Another company that's really good on that is Ubisoft.
Okay.
Ubisoft is willing to give anybody a chance. You just, you know, got to know how to reach out to them. And I like stuff like that. That's why I kind of want to be a community manager. It's one of the reasons that, like, we started Ironlordspodcast, is to give people a voice, to give them, you know, if you stay consistent with something, you can always get it. And, you know, you don't say crazy stuff. Well, you can always get a chance to come on the show, and we'll expose you. Because when we were growing, we didn't have that access. For the most part, we had people in our corner, like shout out to BG on the Weapon Wheel. He's always been a fan of IOP since day one, and he would always shout us out on Weapon Wheel. You know, Randolph Thor, huge fan. Jess Cord, huge fan. And you know, but we didn't have that everybody with their foot, let's get IOP somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, we had to grind for a lot of the stuff that we have. We had to grind for the guests that we have. It took me almost a year to get Colin Moriarty on the show. And, you know, people don't realize, like, they just see, oh, Colin's on IOP. They don't see that I've sent multiple emails. They don't see the reason we got ACG on is because we kept tweeting him. He finally followed the Twitter account. And then one day he got tired of seeing our emblem and link to our podcast pop up, and he clicked it and he liked it. So he's willing to come on. They don't see us going to events. People don't see us going to events and getting to meet some of these people, and we vibe good enough to get them on the show later. All they see is the end content. And I want to, like, really vocalize, like, there's a lot of grinding to everything everyone's doing. And just because you see the product come out looking good doesn't mean they didn't grind to get it to that point.
Absolutely. I love it because, I mean, yeah, you're right. You see that end or you see the show or something like that, and you're just like, oh, they're there. You don't really analyze how hard somebody worked to get somebody into that position. And I mean, I'm in the very early part of my career in this, and I'm noticing, like, things are a lot harder than I had anticipated on certain aspects. And the whole thing for me is am I enjoying it or am I not? And I can thoroughly say that I'm enjoying it. I want to dig deeper, and each time I dig a little bit deeper, I make something a little bit easier, but then give myself the opportunity to challenge myself in a different area. It's about
doing something so many times, you understand the process and you understand how to make it quicker. You know, when I first made videos, 5 hours of video, but after you learn the process, after you learn, you know, oh, you know, I don't have to do this every time. I could do this, and the same result, just quicker way of doing it. And then after a few times doing it, you effectively get better at doing stuff. And, you know, I think that is probably the biggest goal I'd ever have for the gaming industry, is to remove as many gatekeeping as possible. Because I feel like a lot of people feel like we low-key compete with each other, when there is some forums that we do compete with each other.
Sure.
But the same viewership that likes us, they'll come to you because they don't want to hear our opinion. They heard our opinion. They want to hear your opinion. And I feel like that is something that people don't have enough confidence, that they don't want to open that door, because they feel like, you know, I might put this dude in the spotlight. Who says in 6 months he don't blow it past me? And I don't want that.
That's so lame.
And and it happens a lot, and
I'm
that's
sure
why
it does, but that's so lame.
it does, man. It is.
I mean, that's the definition of gatekeeping. I know you said it plenty of times already before, but when you hear it, kind of the definition rolled out to you, you're just like, man, such a downer on that. And why do people do that?
What's crazy is this industry would be so much better if if that wasn't. And the industry gatekeeps itself too. So it's just a giant. It's like the Lord of the Rings that Solomon's met with the big black gates on the outside of it. It's just like that, man. Like, you want in there, you gonna have to grind, build an army, and you got to knock that damn thing down. Like,
I think it's crazy because I look at it the other way around. Like, if I can get somebody that's bigger than me, or get somebody bigger than me, like they started out below me, but they're now much bigger than me, just to be part of their process, to me, is so warming.
I always try to tell people when it comes to getting guests, I always tell people, work on your content first, because guests is always going to help. But the thing is you want to establish the best you, or the best you think you can accomplish at that time, because clearly 6 months from now, I'm going to have better ways of doing things. I'm going to be a better content creator in general. But if you can make yourself as best as you can be at that current time, when you bring on the big guests, their viewership's going to have a reason to stick around. So I've always made guests are important because they expose you to new communities you've never seen, but you got to make sure that your content is on point for when they do look at your stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a really good point. And that's something I'll probably be diving a little bit harder into, because I've been doing a lot of these behind them sticks shows. I've kind of slowed down on reviewing and playing some of the stuff that I'd usually play. So I'm going to take a little piece of that advice for sure. But what do you enjoy outside of gaming?
I'm a huge TV person. I like TVs. I'm a huge non-comic Marvel fan. Means I watch the movie stuff. I don't care about the comic book stuff. I don't care if you come in my comment section when I talk about it, tell me that's not accurate to the comic books. Take that comic book stuff, shove it up yourself. I ain't trying to get into that. There's 100 ways they did Spider-Man. There's 100 ways they did Superman. You can't realistically expect them to make that in a movie.
Right.
So it's just I don't care about what Spider-Man did in issue 88 in 1997. I care about what Spider-Man's doing in 2021.
Right.
And I love that. I love TV shows. I'm a huge anime person. I like anime. I always joke around with Cognito because he'll make anime references, and then I'll call him out in the middle of the podcast. Do you even know where that came from? He's like, let's just keep moving on.
What anime are you watching right now?
I am watching. I was going to watch today, but Funimation's one of the worst apps out there. I don't know why I pay for it, but I still pay for it. It's the app's always messing up constantly, and I feel like they don't update it very frequently. It is owned by Sony, so we'll point that out there. But I'm watching Inuyasha's spinoff with his kids.
Yeah.
I didn't really like season 1 a whole lot, but I'm already invested into some of the characters, so I guess I'm watch season 2 until they do something so drastic that I'm not watching this ever again. Attack on Titan's coming out next year, so I'm definitely going to be watching that. That's probably one of my favorite animes. I just got through watching Black Clover. That was pretty fun.
Dude, I'm so happy that you brought that up. I love that show.
Black Clover?
Asta and mm-hmm. Those are my dudes, man.
I always like animes where the antagonist, the protagonist grinded for what they got. You know what I'm saying?
Very Goku-like.
and not even Goku-like. Because he grinded, but he was a Saiyan, so he had a cheat code.
Kind of, yeah.
I'm talking about
you saying more like Vegeta.
Not even him, because he's a Saiyan. He had a cheat
but
code.
He always was chasing, and that's what made him look so good.
Black, Asta. Asta had no magic whatsoever.
Right.
Sure, he was able to get, the 5-star Clover book to access that power, But if he wouldn't have actually grinded in the way he did, he could never have used it ever.
Right.
I like My Hero because as much as Deku gets on my nerves, Deku had a fight for everything Deku has. Like, and I've always compared to like people like compare like Naruto versus Sasuke. Sasuke was raised with the Sharingan in a very prominent clan that has access to all these badass abilities, and they're like, but Naruto fought for everything. Naruto had the nine-tailed fox. Right. You can't have much more of a cheat code than that. Like, yeah. Sure, he fought for he grinded and he trained for what he had. He did a lot of that. Yes. But we can't act like every time Naruto about to get them cheeks clapped, Nine-tailed Fox comes out and says, "No, that's not happening."
Yeah, I totally get it because then his whole face changes right before he's about to die. His whole like aura
Sasuke literally put a hole in his chest, and the Nine-tailed Fox literally said, "Boy, you lucky that the fourth Hokage sealed me in you."
I did. I enjoyed that show though. That Naruto.
It was a great show. One of my favorite shows of all time. Definitely. Itachi's actually my favorite character of all time. The writing that went into making that character is like absurd.
You said Itachi was? Yeah, man. He was the background of my computer for a really long time. Big fan of them. Big fan of just that entire show. I think Kakashi was probably my favorite one, just because he had that swag, man. That was just...
people love attacking like, oh, you're not an anime watcher. You just watch the mainstream stuff. I'm like, fam, you realize the reason I'm in anime is because of the mainstream shit.
Right.
You realize the reason the industry's growing is because of the mainstream shit.
Yeah, Toonami, bruh. Like I was put on by Toonami and just kind of went off from there into whatever direction. And yeah, I absolutely love anime, and I have no problem saying I'm a mainstream kind of person. I'm a casual anime guy, whatever. Moving on. I want you to kind of tell me or everybody what's something that that's fun that no one really knows about you.
Probably like like how much of like a nerd I am when it comes to like lores and stuff. Like I could tell you like crazy amounts of lore in Halo, crazy amounts of lore. And I know a lot of lore in the Resident Evil. Sometimes I'll get bored when there's like a lot of downtime at my work, and I'll just like, oh, what's the lore in Devil May Cry? And I'll literally just read and watch videos of the lore. It was crazy. Like I was watching, and sometimes the lore will get me into some other nonsense I shouldn't be doing. Like I'll be like watching, what's the lore of like, let's say let's say an example. Like let's say I looked up the lore of God of War, and then some particular part in God of War that was took out of Greek mythology. I'm like, what's this about? And then before you know it, I'm looking up Greek mythology. Like,
just find yourself further and further away from the initial...
into the wormhole, man. And then I forget why I am even doing this in the first place. Like I'm like a huge binge one time for like 2 days straight on Resident Evil lore, and I didn't realize how crazy that lore is.
That's I'm sure that's one of the reasons that you're named Addict. You just can't pull yourself away.
It really is.
All right. So my very last thing I'm going to tell you to do for me real quick, I tell everybody to do this every episode, is describe gaming in 3 words for me.
I would probably say amazing, good, and lame, because there's certain things that I love about the industry. There's certain things that I think is really good for the industry, and there's certain things that's so toxic I wish just go away. Like the industry is such, you got the people that act like they know the industry but they really don't. You got the armchair developers. You got the backseat gamers that feel like they can play games better than people they don't even play. You got fantastic experiences that's ruined by bad decisions. But it's just like at the core, it's just about the passion. And I feel like sometimes we spend more time looking, and me too. I sometimes I get myself caught in that. We spend more time on looking at like the negative stuff that happens and not the positive stuff that happens. Like I have this new rule when I like look at someone on YouTube or Twitter, I look at the last 5, 6 videos they make, and if I don't see like one review or one video like remotely talking about why they like something, and I just see 8 videos talking smack about Xbox, 8 videos talking smack about PlayStation. Because to me, if you spend the majority of your time talking about something you don't like, and you're never talking about stuff you do like, are you doing it for the right reasons? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I completely get that. Yeah, it just gets old, it gets repetitive, but somehow some people get away with it. They get a lot of viewers.
Yeah, unfortunately, but I've always said that there are some that slip through the cracks, but you see the system fixing itself after a while. People catch on to it, and then those same people getting 20, 30, 50,000 views a podcast or a video, they getting like 2 to 8. And then they're getting 2, and then they eventually stop doing YouTube because it's not financially beneficial to keep doing it. Industries, same thing with gaming companies. You saw companies like Ubisoft doing really good at the beginning of the generation, and now what's funny is like Ubisoft and EA was on like the adjacent angles. Everyone hated EA at the beginning of the generation. Everyone loved Ubisoft because they started making the new Assassin's Creed type of games. Far Cry was starting to take off. And now you flip it. Everyone start like, because of Respawn making Fallen, then you got Apex Legends that's gotten really successful. They've done a lot of stuff with their sports games into a way. And people are starting to be like, EA's on the right track. And Ubisoft, nope, we ain't. Tired of the same hash stuff. So it's interesting how the industry works in that. It's industry how things go from a company can go from one of the most loved franchises and loved like CD Projekt Red. 2 years ago, a year ago, most of the people would have nothing but positive stuff to say about it now. Now everyone's looking at them with their eyes open. They got one eye on them at all times. Is Witcher going to sell great? Probably. The next Witcher's probably going to do great. But it's not going to sell as much as it would have if they would have done what they were supposed to on CD Projekt Red, and it tarnished the brand. It hurt them. Fallout 76 went out there for that easy money, didn't really think about any kind of concepts. Now people like myself got to watch out for Bethesda. And it's interesting how the same issues the same issues that content creators have, the same issues are happening with big multi-billion-dollar corporations.
That's hilarious. Just the way that you put that was elegantly hilarious. But anyways, I know you got to get moving. You got stuff that you need to do to finish out your day. So I will definitely let you get to going. Thank you everybody that came by to sit and watch and check out what me and Lord Addict was doing right here. I really appreciate you guys. Definitely like and subscribe if you guys are interested in checking out more content. I come out with these episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. If you'd like to be on the show, feel more than happy to throw me a direct message or get a hold of me in the comment section. I'd be more than happy to chat with you. But thanks for coming to Behind Them Sticks with your boy Ham Solo and Lord Addict today. Thank you for being part of it.
I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. Everybody, though, have a good day. See you later.
Peace.